Hey folks, welcome back to the Wanneroo channel. Hope everybody's doing good. So today we are going to attempt to do part 3 on the 45 ACP with the CFE pistol powder. I've never used that before, so we're going to give that a bit of a go today and have some fun with that. We'll see what kind of chronograph figures we get. Now, one thing I forgot to mention in part 2 was that we are using small pistol primers. In my very limited experience using small pistol primers in 45 ACP before, they seem a little bit weak. So it wouldn't surprise me if we end up getting a little bit of a less velocity out of these rounds compared to just using regular large pistol primers. So we'll see how that ends up kind of shaking out for us. Oh, looks like we got a hawk up there. He's watching me. But we'll see how that kind of shakes out. So, small pistol primers and 45 ACP, we talked about that in the first video. It's something that I don't anticipate doing a lot of. Pretty much all my reloading, with 45 is large pistol primer. So probably I'll jettison this small pistol primer brass. But I just think it was one of those things where I just had it sitting on the shelf during COVID and stuff, and had a lot more time on my hands, so went ahead and decided to do something with it. But anyways, haven't used the CFE pistol before, so we'll see how that goes and we'll see what we get. Anyways, just doing a bit of range maintenance today, and we've got this target here. I've got a video coming up on that we're doing a review on. So expect to see that sometime soon. And just taking care of some things up here. The weather, it's kind of funky today. The sun is out, but we just had like a little snow squall move through. You can kind of see it a little bit darker over there. So hopefully that seems to be pushing off that way. So let's hope so. Let's hope we keep the sun and can get done what we need to get done. So. Okay, so the pistol we're going to use today is the FNX 45. So these are pretty solid pistols if you want, good hammer-fired 45 ACP pistol with a little bit of a higher capacity than the 1911, 15 rounds in these magazines. These are pretty solid pistols to buy. They're worth a look. I've used them in competition, and I've gotten good results with them just in stock form, and I have a load that I use for it. We can always do a video series on these if people are interested. 185 grain Nosler custom competition bullet, tight group powder, pretty accurate load, easy to shoot. So yeah, pretty good pistol. So the weather out here, well, it's kind of acting funny. So anywhere, it's varying 1 minute between snowstorm and then sun coming out the next. So we'll see what we get. And then we're just going to use our old Caldwell chronograph here. This one's been around the block a fair number of times, but still seems to be working okay. And so probably at some point I'm just going to go full Gucci and just get the, one of the lab radars and, just call it a day. But, for someone starting out and reloading, I think this Caldwell chronograph, I think it's a good place to start, just for your average guy out there that's just getting going and doesn't want to spend a fortune. This one has served me well over the years. And like I said, it's been around the block a fair number of times. So, but pretty good value for the money, and just basically it works. Usually I use this with a stand, but basically I guess I forgot it. It's usually in the bag with the chronograph, but I guess somehow got put to the side, so I don't know. But we're going to put it on the table here and see how this works. It should work fine. Probably the table would be more level than the stand maybe, so it should work out okay. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll roll with it. And the weather, like I said, it kind of varies between sketchy and not so bad when the sun's out. So we'll just see what happens. So let's go ahead and get loaded up, and we'll get started. Okay, so today was a big dud, and I'm not surprised. I think one thing at play is the small pistol primers that we're using. They're kind of, I think for 45 ACP, it's a little bit weak. It's kind of a bigger, fatter case, and I just don't think the small pistol primers really do the job. I did another load with Win 231, I think back in the summer. I didn't do a video series on that. That was a big flop with the small pistol primers. And so wasn't really impressed with that. So we've tried it out here with CFE Pistol. It didn't really work too well. So a couple of the issues, we had the cases here. Let's see. Cases ended up all sooty. This is actually one of the better ones. Some of them are, pretty black. And usually the sooty cases, that signifies, lower pressure. So, and I think that comes down to probably we're on the lower end of the powder charge, and then also too the small pistol primer in play as well. The ejection from the gun was pretty weak. We actually had a couple of jams as well. So again, with that lower powder charge, not really surprised that was the case. So yeah, that didn't really work out. The other thing too is the chronograph decided to go crazy, which is no surprise because whenever you film things for YouTube, anything that usually works just fine any other time, when you go to actually film it, it doesn't work. So, not surprised at all. That just seems to be the way it goes. But it started spitting out all these crazy numbers like, 8,000 feet per second and 7,400 feet per second and all that. Now, the hilarious thing is once I finished shooting all of the loads with the CFE pistol, I went ahead and loaded up, 6 or 7 of my usual 185 grain Nosler with the tight group, and they gave back the perfect readings. So I was kind of like, okay, well, anyways, so probably time for a new chronograph, or to go ahead and splurge and get the lab radar or whatever. Sometimes too, I've seen it happen before with the Caldwell. If the battery starts getting weak, it starts to play up. So maybe I'll go ahead and switch out the battery in it. And then also too, the lighting conditions kept changing constantly. So, it was bright sun one minute and then dark cloud the next. So, okay, so it goes. That's the thing with reloading, is that a lot of this stuff, it's just never going to be perfect. And, the thing is that whenever I do these videos, I'm just going to kind of show it the way it is. And not everything is always going to be a perfect success. And that's whole part of the game, is that you basically have to, develop your own loads, and your conditions out there might be different than mine. You might be using different types of firearms, your environmental conditions might be different than what I'm dealing with, or whatever it might be. So you got to develop your own loads, and part of the thing is that not everything is always going to be a success. So you just keep working through things. You find combinations that work. Like for me, I did that video series with the 150 grain full metal jacket Hornady bullets for 300 blackout. I developed that load years ago, and once I had it developed, it's kind of my standard plinking load, and it works just fine. Okay, so there's just a lot of stuff that whenever I tried that load with that bullet with 100 H110 powder, for instance, I got very inconsistent results. And then once I started using little gun, basically it became less an issue. So or wasn't an issue. So that's just the thing you're going to find, is that it's not always perfect, and that's why you kind of work through these things and figure out. So where to next? Well, what we'll go ahead and do is we will go ahead back to the drawing board. We still have a bit of brass left. So we'll go ahead and up the powder charge a bit. I'll have to decide how high up I want to go. I think the max is like 6.6. So we'll up it a little bit, and we'll see if we get some better results out of this. And then probably, the way I'm leaning, and I think it's probably the smart direction to go, is to basically ditch the small pistol primer 45 ACP. It's just kind of not really worth it, you know. It just isn't. And you know, I know there's some folks out there that like it, and if you like it and it works for you, sweet. But I think the large pistol primer 45 ACP, that's where it's at, you know, and that's what I'll end up sticking with. But you know, this is a fun experimentation, so we'll finish it through to the end and see how it actually pans out. So I don't know if I'm going to do a separate part 4 or we'll combine the 2 videos together, but hey, I'll see you in the next section. All right, y'all have a good one.